Steve,
Rob?
Weave, Bob.
Dob?
Yeah.
I don't know why I said Dob and then immediately thought of Dobby the house elf.
Uh, Dobby has a sock. Dobby
Give me
is
some
free.
socks.
So it's been 2 weeks since we potted, right?
It feels like longer, bro.
Yeah, we might have missed another one. Well, there's so much to talk about. We were accidentally potting before we were potting, so that's why we just kind of jumped on. Um, what do you want to talk about first? The elephant in the room or the fish in the room?
Let's talk about the elephant then the fish.
All right. So today that we are recording this, it is the 17th. This is, what are we, 4 days removed from an attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. It was on Saturday.
By a lone gunman, alleged lone gunman.
Yeah, so I mean, we've had enough time to kind of digest this and see some information. A few things have come out, and I think one of the things that I think our podcast is flawed with is that we're both have relatively conservative views. I wish we had someone on here who was just wildly on the other side to tell us how we're wrong, and then we could come to a real debate. But those don't always end friendly. But I've tried to be, how would someone who was very pro Democrat and pro Biden look at this? And okay, so I'll run through the facts real quick. Speaking in Pennsylvania, attempted shot in the ear, just barely missed him as he was turning. If he would have not turned, he'd be dead. One lone gunman, 20-year-old registered Republican, kind of a loner, according to his high school classmates, snuck up on a roof 150 yards away from the podium. They had a suspicious person in the area, had threats from Iraq the week before, very loose social security based on these things. They didn't call it in. Secret Services didn't have this guy flagged. They let Trump go on stage, even though there was a suspicious person, and letters about assassination this few weeks ago. And so it was interesting that this all came to be. And then, you get to the point where it's a 20-year-old kid with no search history of any of this stuff, how to do these things. His classmate said he wasn't a very good shot, and he somehow almost murdered one of the most important people in the country right now.
Yeah, it's incredible. You got a lot of data there that I didn't know about. So there were threats from Iran?
It was either Iraq or Iran. It was like, I'm sure they get threats like that all the time, but there was, somewhat elevated risk of him being in public because there was other assassination threats out there.
Interesting. And then there was a report of a suspicious person. Was it this guy, or was it just kind of in general?
It was this guy. It was him. He had gone out into the fields. He had a rangefinder to see how far away he was from the stage, and he looked a little sketch. And so when he was going through security, they were questioning him and reported a suspicious person, but didn't do anything about it. It wasn't a threat. And apparently the story is that he had a rangefinder, shot how far away the stage was, went back to his car, got a gun, climbed up on the roof where nobody was, and took a shot.
Wow, I didn't know that information. So he actually got caught at security, got questioned, was allowed back to his car, and then I assume he circumvented security to get to that roof.
Right. Yeah. I saw one person. This was the biggest stretch that I heard. Is so this kid was in a BlackRock commercial.
Yep.
BlackRock is the biggest, worst mega corporation on the planet. So he's in a commercial for that company, and somebody said, and BlackRock owns the company that owns the company that employed the Secret Service that was there that day. But also BlackRock is a majority owner in pretty much every single publicly traded company that's out there right now. I would probably say 80% of publicly traded companies, BlackRock and Vanguard are the two largest holders. So, but that was the most egregious stretch that I heard.
Wow. I mean, I believe it. Yeah, because a lot of people think of them as, real estate, right? That they just own a ton of single family homes, but they're involved in almost every company. They're big shareholders in them.
I would say real estate is one thing that's been new about them. They haven't been huge purchasers of real estate until the past 3 to 5 years or something. But when you put money into a retirement account, it's most likely Vanguard or BlackRock owned, and then they will take the voting rights that you don't use and cast votes on your behalf for those mega corporations. So that's why they have so much control, and there's so much, questioning about what these companies actually have control over and how much influence do they have on our entire economy and politics. And obviously, they're always big donors to the political candidates.
Yep. Yeah. It's pretty incredible too to see Biden's kind of response to all this too.
I feel bad for the guy at this point. Every time he talks, it's getting worse. I mean, dementia is a terrible, terrible disease. I've witnessed it firsthand, and he's clearly going through it, and it's tough to watch. Like, he can't finish his sentence.
And you had mentioned too a minute ago that we're both kind of conservative leaning, but I actually had a moment of today, a moment of I don't know what the word is, of weakness or of dissidence or something, because I got an email that my that the Save Act, for student loans might not stay in effect.
Right.
So I'm like, dang, maybe I will vote for Biden because I'm not trying to pay $600 a month on this. Let's make this $17,000 student loan balance go away.
Yeah. And I think, I think about, what my friends think of me when they hear that, I'm a Republican. And I think for me, being a Republican is much more, I support the things that they think are important, and I support them in that way, rather than I endorse the Republican Party. And one of those things that I endorse is how they treat economics. And so that's just like what you're talking about. If they flip their views on economics and how they want to do economic policy, I'll go find the party that most closely aligns with what I believe. And it's the same kind of thing. I think the thing that's bothering me the most about this whole thing is how people are so quick to judge other people. And then one thing that goes along with that is, like, I've seen a lot of Democrats say, I'm so upset that he missed. I can't believe that guy missed. And I think that's the ugliest thing that's happened throughout all of this. And there's a lot of people getting canceled out there because they're publicly saying, oh, we had our one shot to get rid of him. We missed it. Too bad. And you can't, you shouldn't be wishing death upon anybody, especially people who have opposing views just because they have opposing views. And with that, I think of people, okay, they think they hate everyone who doesn't think like them. And a lot of people, when I tell them that I'm a Republican, they just think, oh, you're racist. But I'm like, what do you know? I just believe in the same things that the Republican Party says that they think are important. It has nothing to do with race. And if they had stances on race, I don't know what they are, and I wouldn't believe them. But I think that's just kind of like the knee-jerk reactions coming out of a lot of this. And it's a lot of the stuff about politics that people don't like, is that it comes with, this big aura of, if you're this, then that means all this laundry list of things about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, divisiveness is getting crazy, and that kind of gets us into the whole spiel of the conspiracy theory that the BlackRocks of the world, the cabal, want us fighting about this stuff because then we're busy fighting about this stuff and not about taking them down.
I mean, that was the whole Russia thing. Like, why would Russia get involved in our election? Because they encourage us to be more divisive, because that makes us a weaker country.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the last time, it's not like the Civil War started because a candidate got assassinated, but I mean, that war occurred because people were okay with killing people for their differences and fighting, like, physically, going to war over a difference of opinion, and obviously now, we know slavery was horrible, and but at that time it was simply a disagreement, right, of moral, and all the things we're arguing over now are also moral. And maybe 200 years from now, whoever wins this fight 200 years from now, we're gonna, the population will look back and be like, can you believe not necessarily the North or the South this time, but like the Republicans didn't agree that all kids should have trans education, whatever it is.
I got a hot take on this. I was actually thinking about this, that we should talk about this today. My hot take is, I think abortion is the modern day slavery. I think 200 years from now, they're going to outlaw abortion. People are going to look back and like, I cannot believe people were murdering kids because they were in the womb. And obviously, like, right now, I've had my talks with my friends about this, and like, obviously it's sorry, my camera's messing up. It's legal now, so I've considered it. Like, if I got obviously not my wife because we are trying to have kids, but someone else pregnant, and I would consider an abortion because it's legal. But if it wasn't legal, no brainer. Yeah, I guess we're having a kid now. But because it's legal, it gives me the option. And I wonder if there's people during the slavery time that said the same thing. Like, of course, I wouldn't capture another person and make them work on my farm for no food, for no pay, and maybe a little bit of food. But because it's legal, I guess I'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that 100%. Yeah, definitely.
All right,
Um,
we've rabbit holed a little bit.
yeah, we did. But yeah, but I love it. Let's talk about the that shooter guy again. So like I've seen that, you know, he was in the BlackRock commercial, but I haven't seen any more data like connecting him to BlackRock, like or even like a conjecture of what the motive would be. Have you heard anything about that and how they're
I,
connected?
I think the BlackRock thing is a coincidence. I just think that it would be so outlandish for a company to do that, and I just it would have to be like a very obvious policy that BlackRock would like in the Democratic favor instead of Republicans. And I don't know what that policy is. I mean, I guess it could exist, but I think it's just a really big coincidence. I mean, BlackRock's an enormous company. I'm sure they've made tens of thousands of commercials. This could happen to be in one. Um,
Okay.
I, I after this happened, I remember I watched a lot of RFK videos, and he was talking about because he's got two assassinations in his family, and so he knows a lot about them and how they've happened. And his father, when he was murdered, it was staged as someone else was trying to kill him. But what actually happened is that his own security guard murdered him. And so I hadn't heard this before, but he's like saying he read the autopsy report, talked to the person who did it, had every piece of information. Like obviously, if it was your father, you would get down to as much information as you could. And so they staged his father's death. Like someone with a gun came running at and attacking him, trying to shoot him. That person missed, and he fired every single bullet in that gun. Every single one of those bullets was accounted for. None of them hit his father. And then his security guard walked up behind him with his gun like this, grabbed him, bang, bang, bang. But the one that killed him had him in the back of the head. The shooter that was supposedly killed him was in front of him. And so it was staged as an assassination from, an angry civilian, but it was actually his own security that did it. And so I think that's the conspiracy that I most believe, is that this was not really an outside job. Like this crazy kid said, "Hey, I want to go kill Trump." Maybe they'd said, like they talked to this kid and they knew that he was a radicalist and said, "All right, well, planted some seed in his brain that maybe this roof will be open when he first gets on stage," and the security left that gate open for him. But I don't think it was egregious as the RFK's dad, where he got killed by Secret Service. But I think that's the most likely thing, is that somebody in that Secret Service left the door open for that kid, and somebody else planted the seed in his brain that he should do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen a few people conjecture this, and this is the one that makes more sense to me. I mean, this guy's a registered Republican. Um, you know, it's proven
I don't
that,
think that means much.
well, it means it could mean that he supports Trump, and maybe he was actually a really good shot, and he knew he was willing to give his life to make a fake, like it's like a red, what's it called, false flag, right? Like kind of like, hey, the Democrats tried to kill Trump, so then Trump wins by a landslide. Because the last time, Ronald Reagan, after his attempt, he won like by a landslide, right?
Okay. How
So maybe,
close that bullet was, I don't think there's any chance that he meant to miss.
I don't know, man. These guns these days, I mean, it was only 140 meters,
Right, but
right?
the moment that he turned his head, went like this. If he had not turned his head, he would be dead. If he had
But he
not
might
gone
have
like this,
shot after he turned his head too, because I mean, keep in mind these bullets go like 10,000 feet a second. That's like 2 miles
right,
a second.
so the shooter had to be anticipating, this is when I'm going to turn my head right before when he does it. Then he pulls the trigger,
Yeah,
and you only have so much reaction time. So what if Trump went like this and then came back like he had been doing? Goes 1, 2.
well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is Trump knew when he turned his head he was going to get shot at, and maybe it was going to graze him, but it definitely wasn't going to kill him.
But in the ear, like if it was in the shoulder, I would say I could see that happening, but in the ear there is such small room for error that if he turned at the wrong second, had his weight shifted the wrong way, the wind there was a gust of wind that came by. I don't think that it would be anywhere near worth it.
I don't know. That guy's crazy. And he's 74. I mean, he's theatrical, dude. And what if it didn't actually even hit him? What if
Uh,
he had red stuff in his hand and he was like, and then he like smeared it across his face, right? Like it could have been all fake. And
yeah,
just the people
yeah, it's
behind him
crazy.
were getting smoked. Because that picture of the bullet churl, it's it's like it looks like it's at his lower ear.
And then it hits his upper ear.
Yeah. So it could have like missed him completely and he had fake blood. And have you seen the picture of the injury since? It's like all blurry in the pictures of when it happened, and then since then he's been wearing this big ear patch on his whole freaking ear.
That's an interesting theory. I don't know.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't put it past him to fake an assassination attempt, to false flag it like the Democrats are trying to kill him. I mean, he just, if you think about it too, this he's a theatrical guy. His show, everything. He was in the WWE. This guy likes theatrics, and he's got a story arc right now. Trump does, right? Of, uh, I didn't win the election. It was, they stole it. And then 2 years later, it's, hey, they're indicting me on these charges with Stormy Daniels. And then a year after that, they convicted me. They're out like the Biden regime is, um, uh, you know, uh, what's it called when you go after your political opponents or whatever, like
Yeah.
litigating his political opponents to try to snuff me out. And then right after he gets convicted, he's a felon. 1 month later, it's like, oh, I'm a felon to all these black people online are like, well, now he's a felon. Now I kind of like, right? Now I kind of like him. It's like the joke. It's a joke, but it's honestly, marketing wise, it's true. He's getting more people that are like, well, wait a second. Why are they attacking him? He's doing something here. Maybe I should support him. I was even kind of falling into that category. And then now he's arcing with they tried to fucking kill me. They really must have something against me because they know I'm gonna drain the swamp, right? So I don't know. There's like a story arc there, so I could see how he's like slowly escalating things on an election year to the point where 4 months before we vote, he's like, they're trying to actually kill me. Like, you know what I mean? I
If
could
that
see
was true,
that.
that would be the greatest propaganda story ever. Like,
I, and that's who he is. He's trying to. That's what he wants. He wants to be the greatest story ever. Against President of all time, everyone said it was a great president. It's like
but okay, so all right, so through the lawsuits, didn't he lose like $30 million or something?
I don't know, probably in legal fees. But I mean, come on, compared to what it's an investment, really. Because if he becomes president again, and then he's gonna write books, he's gonna sell merch. I mean, this anything he does for the rest of his life, he'll get deals to speak for 4 million. I mean,
That's
it's an investment.
huh. And so you think that if this was true, then they knew they were going to kill people in the background, and they did that just for the sake of the story.
I could see. I'm not saying I believe all this. I'm just saying it's plausible. It's
It's possible.
within character. It seems to be possible to be within his character, and knowing that people in the crowd might die, I could see him being so narcissistic and self-centered to be willing to make that sacrifice.
Uh,
Even if he was genuinely, I care about the American people and want to do what's right by them, and it's not a self-serving presidency like a lot of other people, I I could see him still thinking that for the greater good, it's worth the risk of killing a couple people in that stage to ensure that he gets elected. I could see that being worth.
all right. Well, then
I mean,
how
there's a
about?
cost
He was
cost benefit
projected to
analysis.
win the election before this happened, and now it's just a little bit more.
Yeah, and he was projected to beat Biden, but there's a ton of data out there. But I've been kind of watching what RFK says about it, and he had posted something that like, yeah, Trump's not projected to win. He was projected that if people could only pick between him and Biden, he would win that race. But with me in the mix, with RFK in the mix, that RFK actually has the best chance to actually win. So
I remember
it
him
might
posting
be.
something that was like, if it was Biden versus RFK, RFK wins. If it was Trump versus RFK, RFK wins.
Yep.
If it's all three of them, Trump wins.
Yep. Exactly. But that means RFK does have a small chance.
Right. And I know a lot of people that plan on voting for him because there's no way they're voting for Biden, and there's even less of a way they're voting for Trump.
Yeah. And I'm kind of in that camp, honestly. And I'm not scared to talk about it. Like, I'm not private about any of this stuff. Like, I've been winning RFK for like 3-4 months now, but for the last 6 years, since 2020, I haven't been certain Trump or Biden. I think I voted for who was the independent in 2020?
Couldn't tell you.
I forget, but I voted for that person. And then, but this one, I'm not sure, man, because I kind of like all three. I think Trump would be good for our economy. I think RFK would be good for us socially and unity wise. But I think going Biden Harris, aka Harris, I think having a horrible president one more time, even worse than Biden, might be good for us to hit rock bottom, honestly. Like, as a country, can you imagine if we actually hit rock bottom? Say we did lose the dollar on the petrol, like our economy went to total shit. I mean,
There's a
that's not
there's a saying,
necessarily
I forget what it is.
horrible.
It's like there is no sunshine without rain type thing. Like pain causes
Exactly.
change.
Exactly. So that kind of makes me want to vote that route too, because I think it's the most likely to fail as a leadership
So it's
team.
most likely to
Um,
get us out of this endless cycle we're in, where we're in a divisive party and everybody thinks the other
right.
one's selling us flies. Huh.
Yeah, I think if Biden wins and he does keep Kamala on the ticket, I think she's a total moron. I don't think anyone can refute that. Anyone with sense. And Biden's obviously can't make it another 4 years. Not necessarily that he'll die, but he'll lose the ability to even.
Yeah, he won't make
You
it
know,
another 4 years being able to hold a conversation.
no. So it'll be her running the show, doing the dumbest shit, acting like an idiot, having no other leaders respect. Our economy would like everybody would be like, I want out of it. We'd crash a little bit if they got elected. Or if they announce he's out of office, I think everybody would be like, "Oop, sell now because it's going down." We'd have a little mini crash. Social stuff would escalate, and there'd be some friction that would maybe finally allow us to hit rock bottom and grow.
Okay, so
But
let's talk about that. We're doing some hypotheticals here. Say we hit the rock bottom and we know that we have to make change in the way we run our political systems. I mean, I think the biggest flaw in our system is the two-party system and how we do electoral college and that kind of stuff. But what's the better way? That's the argument I hear from a lot of people. How do we do it better than this?
yeah, and I'm not well educated on this enough to have like an educated thought, but from what I have heard from people who are from places that are not two-party systems, that are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 party systems, like Italy, for example, there's not progress. It like causes too much opposition all over the place, and like nothing changes.
Yeah,
Um,
if two people don't like this one person's idea, then they team up on them and it just
right, and things don't change. So it's like the two-party system at least allows for a symbiotic relationship, or what's it called? It's not symbiotic, but there's like
yeah,
a
duality.
duality. Yeah, there's a biological, like ecological term for it that we can kind of use as a metaphor for this, um, but like the two-way street at least allows compromise and progress in a direction that you know most people can kind of get behind one or the other, right? So,
Mhm.
but it you also like a lot of people forget this that when this country was founded, there was no I want to say Republicans. There it was the Democrats and the Whigs,
Mhm.
the Whig Party, and the Whig Party got eventually somehow the Republican Party was kind of like libertarians and like libertarians are now. They're just real small minority, but I'm pretty sure it was Republicans came up like that and eventually overtook the Whigs in popularity and eventually kind of took over Senate positions, took over Congress, um, and eventually won the presidency. I'm not sure about this, but I think Lincoln might have been the first Republican president.
Really.
Let's look that up. Um, but but so it is possible that a new
Third
party
party can
can.
take over.
Yeah, it's
If there's
not.
any time to do it, it's now.
Yeah,
These dang boomers.
yes. Um, but yeah, it's like it's not possible. It's not likely that we'd have the libertarian or a libertarian party come in and like share it like a three-way. It would kind of like take a few 4-year cycles, but what happened before was it got replaced. One of the parties got replaced.
So essentially, the libertarians would take over for whoever the least favorable party is, and it would turn into a two-party system with Democrats and libertarians, or
Mm-hmm.
Republicans libertarians. That's interesting. But yeah, I
So
mean, I could see that. I mean, with the way the system is now and how like archaic it is and how slow moving, you know, congressional seats are. I mean, I could see it taking a lifetime to really make it. I bet there would be 5 different elections where it seems like there's 3 parties.
yep. Yeah,
Interesting.
the first I just looked it up too. The first Republican president was Abraham Lincoln. He beat out Stephen A. Douglas. Um, I guess it used to be called the Democratic Republican Party, and they split.
Hmm.
So it was the Whigs and the Democrat Republicans. So Abraham Lincoln built the Republican Party into a strong national organization. So
Interesting.
yeah, I mean but also people got to remember too that for a third party to get government taxpayer funding for their campaigns for a presidential campaign, that party has to get 10% of the popular vote across the nation, and RFK is running as an independent.
Oh,
So
so
if
he's
he
not a
gets
party.
11%, huh?
He's not a party.
Exactly. So he wouldn't like. I don't know how that works. If he got 11%, I don't know if he would be eligible for funding next round or
I saw
any independent
I saw something
or
about
no
that where
one.
he's like representing 2 or 3 parties, which in if so facto makes him an independent.
I see.
And that's why I've heard there's a lot of states that are like arguing he can't be on the ballot because he's not represented by a single party.
What a dick.
I think it's a tragedy he was not allowed to debate because I felt one, that debate was trash and it was totally set up so that Biden would have a chance of success. It should have been more open, and RFK should have been there.
Yeah, I watched his version, the real debate. Did you watch that?
No, what did he like tape it and like do a reaction video or something?
It was live. With an audience. So what they were doing was I forget which network it was on, but it was broadcast on YouTube and probably some other places too. But essentially, they would just play it on the big screen. They played the debate on the big screen, and Biden would answer, Trump would answer, they'd pause it, and then RFK would also get an answer, and then he was also allowed the same rules, the same rebuttals as them. The only difference was that he had the audience, and Trump and Biden didn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he got not as many viewers as the regular one, but I think a
didn't
lot
even
of
hear
people
about
watched.
it. All right, I'll have to go watch that. I'm guessing it's a little bit longer than the regular debate.
Yeah. So let's see. There were 51 million viewers on the debate. And then with RFK, there were it doesn't say, but I'm sure there were less.
I would guess a couple million, 1 or 2.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, my feedback on that was, how in the debates the last decade or so, they never answer the goddamn question. They just sort of attack the other person's character or talk about immigration when the question was about abortion.
Yeah.
And I was really hoping that RFK would use that and be like, okay, well, I'm going to actually answer the question because he wasn't in the room. But like every time he would use his time to just respond to their BS.
To criticize their answers, yeah.
Well, to like say, well, I think that's wrong because this, I would do this. But it's like, that wasn't the question. Yes, Trump was asked about immigration and he talked about abortion. But that doesn't mean that you, AFK, should talk about abortion and not even answer the question on immigration. Just answer the question. So I was disappointed in him for that he didn't just answer the questions.
Yeah.
So nobody gave real substance, honestly. None of the three.
Interesting. All right. Well, the Trump train is on right now. I know the nation's kind of going by storm, and I mean, it was a badass picture he took with that flag in the background.
Yeah.
But I need to look more into RFK. I definitely considered him, but I don't know much about his stance on a lot of things. I know he said the number one thing he would fix when he got in office is figure out why our kids are sick, which I think is great. But I don't think it's that big of a mystery why our kids are sick. We're loading them up with a bunch of vaccines, which I would probably say half of them we don't need, and their food is poison. Like,
yeah,
that's not a surprise.
Bro, we're having so much trouble at the preschool with the food. I'm like this close to giving up on it. So our preschool only serves non-processed foods. Our nutrition promise is like no seed oils, no added sugar.
Isn't that like your biggest marketing stick though?
It is, and we get a ton of people who say, "Oh my god, I love that," right? But they don't don't go to daycare. Those people, the mom stays at home with the kids in general. So we've had maybe 1 or 2 people actually sign up and say, I signed up because of this. Like, we ask every new enrollee, why are you choosing us? And like 1 has said because of the food. Everyone else has said location, convenience, like my commute, and cost. That's all people care about. It's crazy.
I mean, I think there's also like, because yours like it's a Montessori type daycare, and you're like half the cost of regular Montessori's, right?
Yeah.
But aren't there other daycares that are less than you are?
Cost wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're all in-home daycares, so they're daycares. So remember, there's a difference between daycare and preschool, too, right? Like,
okay, but for the product you're offering, you're a low cost. I think that's
we're the cheapest preschool. We're the cheapest preschool. Yeah.
So I think that's the difference. Like, you offer a product at a lesser price than people who offer similar products. Because I don't think it's just like, oh, if we're cheaper, we'll have more people. You offer a product that's like a preschool that's cheap, but nobody says like the way that you teach and stuff like that, or the methodologies you have.
No, because we don't really have like a published curriculum. We're working on it right now. Right now, we're just basic preschool stuff. So it's ABCs 1, 2, 3s, and story time and stuff. The basics. that allows you to say I'm a preschool. Um, and then we're starting to trickle in these Montessori life skill things, but it's not like the education curriculum. It's just like the setup of the place, like
Yeah.
your own, your own water, shoes off the couch, clean up after yourself after lunch, serve yourself food, like that type of stuff. That's like good life skill stuff. That Montessori schools have intentionally in their curriculum, right? So we are writing the curriculum right now, and we are going to be putting all those things to paper, and we'll publish it, and then we'll be light years ahead of any other preschool in town with that published curriculum.
But you're saying that
But
the food is not the selling point. Maybe the other stuff is.
it gets Instagram likes for sure. It gets comments of people saying I love this. We get tons of like people, that we meet at our meetups and stuff. They're like, oh, you want a preschool? You want a preschool? Cool. What's like special about it? You tell them about the organic, and they're like, oh my God, I love that. I wish my kid's school did that. And it's like, well, why don't you switch to us? And it's like, well, this one's by my house.
Yeah.
Okay, but they're loading your kid. You care about nutrition, but this school is loading your kid up with all this horrible stuff, addicting them, conditioning them to be pre-diabetic. But your commute is more important to you than that.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, that's not the verbatim conversation, but that's the gist. And it's like, wow, people say they care about nutrition, but they actually don't. They don't prioritize it. They care about it, but it's not a priority.
Right.
Not here. Not yet.
Comes down to money. I was thinking about this about the gym I decided to join, and why did I go to a different one that maybe has better stuff or more aligned? It's like I chose the one that I could afford and did the things that I needed. And it's like, yeah, I understand there's other places that will offer like nutrition coaching or recovery rooms or other events where I can meet people, and that's probably better for me, but it's not within the budget that I have. And so I think it all comes down to the dollar bill.
Yeah, for real. And the commute. I mean,
I think time is money. If you're spending an extra 20 minutes to
True.
and from driving, then that's 20 minutes you're not at work and wasting time. I think it all comes back to that.
True that. Yeah, if there's one in your budget, but it's half an hour drive, but it has all those extra things, you're probably not going to join it because it's the wasted time costs you life energy.
Yep.
Have you read that book, Your Money or Your Life?
I know it's in my library. I don't know if I read it yet.
I think I told you about it. I was just telling my brother about it today, but it instead of it teaches you how to view things as life energy points rather than as dollars.
Yeah, you talked about this before, yeah.
Oh, did I? Okay.
Give it to us again because I don't remember it.
I have a Biden memory sometimes. So yeah, like say you make $20 an hour at your job. But you've got your commute there, the clothes you have to buy for it, the car maintenance for having to drive there, all blah, 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 blah. If you add all that up, it ends up really being like $12 an hour, right? So when you go to a movie, and it costs you $12 for a ticket, rather than saying, oh, this costs $12, it costs one life energy hour or something. Yeah. So it's like, is sitting in this 2-hour movie at a theater when I could watch it at Netflix in 6 months, is it worth 1 hour of my time at my job? Actually, probably not. I'd rather retire 1 hour earlier, right? So every time you don't spend that, you could retire 1 hour earlier, or however many life energy hours earlier. So I thought that was pretty interesting. That book helps you crush debt, and it's one of the fire culture essentials.
What's a fire culture essential?
The financially independent, retire early, FIRE.
Okay.
That's like not a cult. What's the word? Kind of like a
organization,
a group, a belief system. Yeah, it's a theory or whatever. It's a practice.
All right.
A lot of people say I'm fire now. I'm living in a fourplex. I paid off my car. and the rent gives me an extra $2,000 a month over the mortgage to pay all my expenses and still save $500, I don't have to work anymore.
That reminds me, the book I started reading was your buddy AJ's book, the storage guy.
Yes, I got the second one, by the way, for you.
There's 2 books, or what do you mean the second one?
I don't know if his number 2 book has been published yet out there, but I went to an event at his new storage facility that just opened in Boise. He had like a ribbon cutting ceremony, so I went and got to hang out with him for a little bit, and he was handing out copies of it. So it's Storage, same title, but it's 2.0. So it's all about post-pandemic storage investing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm like 2 or 3 chapters in. It's really interesting. I mean, I chapter 1 is the why. So I understand the why, and I think it's really interesting. It's basically buying real estate that has cash flow with it. Buying real estate as a business, which there's not real places that you can do that with, unless without like having actual tenants that live there or rent there as an office. So I think that part is really unique and really cool. But I think, we talked about this before. It's about, the cost of doing this, and the risk is always going to be there. You can't do this without risk, and you can't do this without extra costs. And so I think the thing that the one thing he said that's kind of irritated me is, like, he said, you would not believe how much a simple 50 or 100,000 renovation to your whatever you call your front desk room would do for your business. And I'm just like, who's got $100,000 to just throw around and renovate a room? Like, because that's going to be on top of the purchase after you do everything. Because for commercial stuff, they typically don't finance, renovations. So that was one of the things where you got to keep your W-2 job, and you got to make decent money and have a buffer in case you fail. And in his case, he did fail on his first one. But he said his thing was, I learned so much from my first one, I knew how to do it right the next time. So he bought a storage unit somewhere, didn't make enough money, knew why he wasn't making enough money. It was mostly because of where he had bought it, and found out the right places to buy it, sold it for, he said, about what they had bought it for. So I'm guessing overall he lost money on the purchase and sale. Then he flipped it into a new one. But most people don't have the buffer to, make $100,000 mistake on their first try.
Yeah. Well, I assume he was using some kind of fund, and maybe not his own money.
I think it was him. He said it was him and a partner, and that he was one of the top insurance salespeople in Boise at the time. And I think he said he was with State Farm. And I know they can make a grip. Like, they can make $1 million or $2 million a year if you're on top of your game. So that could have been it.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I'd like to read it. Maybe I'll read this one before I send it to you, or at least skim it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it was interesting. My kind of route to this point, to this juncture, was through development. So, okay, does it make sense to buy this property to put 36 units on it? And you kind of have to underwrite. Okay, it would cost this much to build, and yada, yada, yada. And the debt service would be covered by the rent, right? And then we started looking at storage units, because I would talk to a couple of, owners by accident who own storage facilities. And I would just replace tenant with, like, a renter or whatever with, $100, down from $2,000 for a unit down to $100 for a storage unit, right? And so it's the same underwriting pro forma. It's the same, the expenses, you got to change them a little bit, but it's like very similar. The spreadsheet
the cost per unit is way down, but so is the rent per unit.
Exactly. So and there's different types of expenses. Like, you have different types of insurance or different types of taxes, because it's commercial instead of, a multifamily residential, or it's different. You got to have staff for a storage unit, where, not property management. So you get rid of property management and you put staff, right? So it's like slightly different, but very comparable in how the spreadsheet looks. And then when we started looking at daycares, I was like, well, here I just replace rent with tuition. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
The same spreadsheet. So I started realizing that real estate, commercial real estate, or even a duplex, I mean, you can analyze it like you would the same way you'd analyze a business. It's all revenue and expenses in all cases. So it's
I mean, what you're
you're
talking about
spot
is a
on.
specific version of a P&L, which is, it's all about the bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can get a P&L for a duplex too. Like any good property manager that manages a duplex for you, or even a single family home, they should be able to track it all in their QuickBooks and
Yep.
spit out a property specific P&L at
Yep.
any moment. So,
All right, we're running out of time, so let's talk about the fish in the room.
oh yeah, let's fish for a new topic. Uh,
Something's fishy around here.
Yeah, this came up before the pod we were kind of talking about last week, and I went camping with Elena and Rafi and like 7 or 8 other couples and their kids. So it was like 16 adults and like I want to say 18 children.
Oh wow!
And Rafi was the oldest. He's almost 6. So every kid was like 4 or younger, and Rafi and I we camped right next to the river, and we spent some time fishing with Rafi's, little 3-foot Spider-Man $10 fishing pole.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, little man caught 2 trout. Just like I would kind of cast it a little bit, but like 6 feet in front of him, and just the line would just pull out in the river, like 60 feet away. There was one where it went like 100 yards away, and the bobber just went, pew! And I was like, "You got one, reel it in!" And he's just like, he got tired. I had to help him out, give it back to him, and yeah, we pulled in like an 8-inch trout, like this big around. It must have been 4 ounces maybe, but
that's
pretty.
cool.
I think it's called a brook trout. And man, when he pulled that fish in, I just got so amped, dude. Just it was like more endorphins than scrolling Instagram for 10 minutes on a poop break. It was, I was hyped, dude. It was awesome. And then Elena kept saying, "Okay, it's time to make dinner." And I'm like, "I want to keep fishing."
Was that
Rafi caught
his first one or second one?
After the first one, I didn't want to give up. And I was like, let's just catch one more, a couple more casts. And he caught one more, and so it helped me.
That's cool.
Helped me to my word. So he came in after he caught the second one.
You didn't cook
and
it?
I caught the same fish twice.
You didn't cook it?
Huh? No, I was really that. I guess it's not the best time to keep them. I guess at some point in the summer, they all come up and mate, and like all the biggest ones come up the river, and that's a good time to eat them, like after they lay their eggs. But yeah, it was like a little one. I don't know, maybe it was last year's baby, or like a springtime baby that's now a little bigger. I don't know, but I mean, there were some big fish in that river. We saw them jumping. But yeah, Boise has a big pond, almost lake, right next to us that we could walk to, and then of course the river. We're next to the river all the time. And there's a lot of good fishing in the river, a lot of spots.
So did you worry about the fishing license and all the regulations that go along with that?
I looked it up. It's like $90 for a 3-year license. And I got that in my cart. It's a really antiquated website, so I wanted to take my time and not mess it up. So I need to buy that. But for him, he doesn't need it.
I remember looking at this before, and I just thought it was so silly. Like, if I'm not catching and killing the fish, why do I need a license to do this?
Because I think every angler does have a death count. Like, even if you don't keep the fish,
you punch a hole in them.
Yeah, like there's still a percentage that die even if you catch and release. Like I remember me and my dad when I was a kid, when we'd be fishing in the fall and spring, sometimes the fish would be cold. So like they don't like grab it and run. They just chew on it and just swallow it. And there's no way to get that hook out without hurting them, like fatally.
Yeah.
So I think there's some fatalities, and the other fish eat it, so it's not like it's horrible for the ecosystem or anything. But they just don't want just anybody going out there and doing it. I think it's also a way for them to get funding that's not straight from taxes, but in addition to the tax funding that DNR or whatever it's called, Fish and Wildlife get, they also get revenue from the people that actually use the rivers to fund, their rangers or whatever who go actually police it, make sure people are using the right equipment, because they will come up and check your hair hook and make sure you're using legal equipment. They clean up the rivers and stuff with their staff. If somebody gets stuck out there, they go rescue them. So there's yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
So I think that's why they charge.
I had control of the TV one day, and I was just craving. I want to watch some sports, and nothing was on. And so the only thing that was on was like Bass Pros, and so I was watching guys catch bass and get just absolutely stoked. It looked like so much fun. I was like, man, I want to go sit on a lake somewhere.
Yeah, man. So, dude, funny story. After a rec league basketball game back when I was like 25, we would always go to this bar and get wings and beer, and we were just sitting there joking around about fantasy football and basketball and stuff, and that I didn't participate in that stuff, and they were making fun of me. And I was like, well, I would probably participate in like something if it was like fun or funny, So we Google the most obscure fantasy sports leagues.
Oh, man.
Things like bowling, cricket, racquetball even, and badminton. But the best one, NASCAR, the best one we found was bass fishing. You can do fantasy bass fishing. Dude, it is hilarious to watch these guys. They're the biggest characters. It's like Ricky Bobby. Like, they're freaking the number one fisherman, bass fisherman for the last like decade. His name is Skeet Reese. So whoever drafted him just freaking won. We did it like 4 seasons in a row. My dad got in on it with us. Oh, we did it. We did it. Me and 9 guys. So 10 total guys. And to get the 10th guy, we got my dad in. And whoever drafted Skeet Reese always freaking won every time.
That's great.
So,
it's kind of crazy to think that there is like there's a talent to it, because like when you went with Rafi, you think that there's so much luck that goes into fishing, because I'd be pressed to say that is Rafi really a better fisherman than you are? I don't know.
No.
Right, but then then you go to the pros, and it's very evident who's got the most skills and knowledge versus who doesn't.
Yeah, just like the tiniest flick of the wrist can like make it look real. And these guys practice like in a bathtub, where they can like see it. I'm sure the practice regimen is more than just going fishing. It's like golf, where you like work on the little intricacies of your swing. So, but yeah, man, if you ever want to do fantasy bass fishing, I'm down.
Let's get it going. When's the season start?
It's like 3 times a year.
Oh.
It only lasts like 3 months for each fantasy round. So, which was perfect for my attention span for it.
Yeah.
Because we'd do it and then skip a couple of rounds and do it again. Everybody threw $10 in, winner got $100.
Yeah, that'd be great to watch Bass Pros with a little bit behind it,
Yeah. I can't remember who it was, right? Oh, Front Porch Dad, right?
Yes. I've definitely heard
on Instagram. There was like, it'll make a video like and it'll be like dads getting abandoned cords out of their storage box, and he'll be like, "Oh, you need a cord? Let me check if I'll have that." And it's like, it's like this dadisms kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where that guy's on Cameo, and for like $25 you can get a cameo from him. So I had him do a cameo for our fantasy bass league. So at our opening ceremony, we met over at Commissioner McNabb's house, and like we had him shout out all the players and the team names, and he did like a 2-minute cameo for us on like
cool.
It was like the opening ceremony for that season, and dude, it was great.
That's hilarious.
But okay, man. Well, yeah. Let's plan a fishing trip, huh? There's some good fishing in California too.
It's not where I live.
No, not Where we live. Up by up 95 a little bit. What's that big valley called?
There's a bunch of them up there. Talking
Up
like
by
north
up
of
by Bishop.
Sacramento.
Um, my old boss in San Diego used to go up by Bishop a lot in that area. Like on the way to Mammoth in the summertime. And there's some rivers that in the summertime they have a ton more water, and a bunch of ocean fish like come up and
Okay,
mate and stuff up there. So
that looks
yeah, they would
nice.
go every
It
year.
would be tough to get there, but it's doable. It'd probably be like a 5 or 6 hour drive from here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least because it's all like side roads.
I'd
But
love to get a dude's fishing trip going. Make it happen.
yeah,
And we'll
man,
make sure that it's during the Bass Pro season so we can go to the bar and watch bass fishing.
love it, dude. Tons of YouTube. I got YouTube Premium recently too. There are a ton of fishing channels where you just
Oh yeah,
watch the guy fish and he just talks about what he's doing the whole time.
like ASMR or fishing.
For real. He's like whispering to not scare the fish, and you see him like paddling his little kayak in his, with his GoPro. He's like, I think there's a fish over here and under this log, and he'll be like, shh. It's like an hour of that. He makes a video like every day.
What a life. What a life.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, good to get back on the saddle. See you next week. Love you, Mom.
Love you, Miss T.
See y'all later.
Bye.